Boy, oh boy. Like, subscribe, and share for this one, man. You see the picture. I barely got a voice. Man, it was a tough fight to predict. And I can't lie. I'm usually a sore loser, but I can't say that I'm any happier. I've never been happier to see a prediction of mine go left. To have a year like the that we've had in boxing, especially Devin's year, for him to come out here now and to do exactly this. This was actually my final prediction was Brian Norman winning by a stoppage. But prior to giving my prediction, I did say there were ways that I felt like Devin Haney could capitalize on the inexperience and the advantages that he had over Brian Norman. And he seemed to do it very well. Kudos to Devin Haney because he went out there and not only, you know, reading body language it could really be something where you study it and someone is kind of playing, giving you a poker face, playing possum, doing things that we don't expect them to do to exude confidence or express that they're confident in the fight. I feel like Devin Haney just put us all in a trick bag when it came to the first face off. Well, the first face off to the final weigh in. And then walking into the fight, he just seemed super confident. And, I did tell the people that I was watching the fight with, I said, I gave them the same synopsis that I gave you guys. And I said, for a fighter who this fight is basically a crossroad fight. He seems super relaxed, laid back, like he's ready to go. A lot of people gave Devin Haney criticism because he was in Riyadh for basically the whole month. And it seems like it did him well because he was acclimated. He seemed really rested, and it just seemed like another day in the office. Just to break down the fight. First round, I gave it to Brian Norman, just because Devin Haney didn't really do much and he was backing up. And it was pretty much, I said, listen, if Dev doesn't beat Brian Norman to the shots, it's going to be a bad night. And the first instance that Dev beat Brian to the shot, he hurt him. And I said, oh, wow, he really hurt him. And then this happened right here. This is basically the moment of the year. Brian Norman says that he coined that he had the knockout of the year. But I'm going to tell you this right now. Devin Haney, this is the boxing photo of the year. It might be the boxing photo for the rest of the first half of 2026. After that, Devin Haney really was just in control. And a lot of people may not realize it, but he hurt Brian Norman a multitude of times. And Brian Norman just, I don't know what the game plan was. Due to me watching the fight with a whole bunch of people, I couldn't really hear what Brian Norman's father, senior, was telling him. But throughout majority of the fight, after this moment, it just seemed like Brian Norman's inexperience kicked in, and he wasn't prepared for something like this happening to him. He just didn't have a plan B, C, D, E, F, and oftentimes he was out of position. He was getting caught by Devin Haney. Devin Haney's one was very crisp, clean. His two was sharp, and it always froze Brian Norman. And Brian just seemed to always have to reset. Devin, when it was time to escape, he definitely escaped well. And like I said, Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson are two parallels when it comes to boxing. Shakur is the defensive parallel. Devin Haney is the offensive parallel. And when you see Devin Haney, you may think because he barely gets touched or because he's a finesse fighter, you equate that with defense. But Devin Haney is a front foot fighter who, when he gets too comfortable, he's open. He's deficient on the defensive end as far as keeping himself safe from his opponent's attacks. Brian Norman was always out of position in his fight, always reaching, always way too out of range to get to Devin Haney. What he could have done better was actually use his jab. He didn't jab whatsoever. And when he did jab, he was way too far out of range. By the time Brian Norman actually got to the realization that, hey, I need to dirty this up. It was already the 11th round. The wrestling and all that stuff, it wasn't going to work. Like I said, if Brian Norman really wanted to prove that he was the guy that everybody said was that Boots was avoiding and Boots was running away from, Brian Norman would have been close range Devin Haney all night, smothered Devin Haney shots instead of his own shots, and really made it difficult and invested to Devin Haney's body and broke him down slowly. Instead, I feel like Brian Norman Jr. bought into the hype that the internet, that uh his team, himself, bought what he was selling. And the worst thing about owning a business is when you're buying your own product and you're not selling it because you're losing money. So what Brian Norman Jr. did, he took Devin Haney for granted. He took it for light. Um, I think he watched the Ramirez fight in combination with the Ryan Garcia fight and thought that this was a sweet lick. Um, One thing that was deceptive about those two fights is this: Devin Haney, the last fight, I feel like he definitely knew that the bag was secured, and like he had alluded in his post-fight interview, there was a game plan. He stuck to it, got out of there with the win. The Ryan Garcia fight, what a lot of people do not give Devin Haney a lot of credit for, is that although he did get dropped those times, he kept coming and he got up and he never was knocked out. And Brian Norman brought into hype that Devin Haney did not have a chin. His chin was never tested, and that once he touched Devin Haney, he was going to go to sleep. He actually did touch Devin Haney the second round. He touched Devin Haney the first round. He touched Devin Haney the fifth, and multiple times afterwards. It's just that one shot was not enough. And the one shot is not going to be enough because he was loading up on the shots. He didn't dress Devin Haney up. Devin Haney actually dressed him up, and Devin Haney showed that exactly what he said. There was levels to this. A guy who's never been 10 rounds, a guy who didn't know how to close the show. It was like Brian Norman got exposed prior to this fight. I want to tell you guys a quick story. Shout out to my boy Jamil from YSM Media. He had warned me that, hey, don't be surprised if Devin Haney drops or knocks Brian Norman Jr. out. This is the guy that a lot of people, and just because Brian Norman lost, a loss means nothing. Sean Porter, to some, is a Hall of Famer. He has losses. He's fought everybody at 147, lost his title, got his title back, fought the best of the best. Guys like Timothy Bradley, who was in the 140 division when it was at its hottest, he's taken losses and come back. So this is no knock on Brian Norman Jr. I feel like he has a lot to learn, but this is great experience for him. I'm going to be talking about the Abdullah Mason fight as well, in conjunction with the Brand Rodriguez fight. The experience is going to do him well in the future. You never know. He could actually get a Devin Haney rematch because Devin said he's going to be at 47 for some time. So we can see a rematch at some point. But for this fight, we're just going to focus on Devin. It was just a really good fight. He looked super sharp. I'm glad to see that Mickey Bay was back in the corner. Bill gave good direction as well, from what it seems, with the aid of Mickey Bay. And you can just tell that Devin was ready. What's next? We don't know. All I know is Conor Ben was in ringside. He called Devin Haney out last week. I still don't know why Conor Ben doesn't want to fight Boots. Why he's looking at a guy like Devin Haney. Why he's looking at Shakur Stevenson. Why he never called out a Brian Norman Jr. But that's besides the point. Right now, we're just going to congratulate Devin Haney on a good win, and I feel like it was a fluke. And Devin Haney's back. Like, subscribe, and share.